So I recently did an episode where I was giving famous quotes from artists that I truly admire and I truly love, and I wanted to dive deeper into it, expanding that series, but focusing just on the filmmakers that I love and admire, and some great quotes to hopefully help inspire you from the absolute legends. This first one is, like, to me, such the epitome of being a filmmaker, and I wanted to start off with this one. Really, pick up a camera, shoot something. No matter how small, no matter how cheesy, no matter whether your friends and your sister star in it, put your name on it as a director. Now you're a director. Everything after that, you're just negotiating your budget and your fee. James Cameron. I love it because it gives you the absolute authority to start making films and to not overthink anything about it, because you are a director when you start making films. And you just make more films, and it really is just budget and your fee. Are you doing it for free? Are you doing it for $1 million? Is your budget $0, or is your budget hundreds of millions of dollars? It's all directing. It's all the same craft. You're putting up a camera, you're telling a story, you're figuring out the angles, you're getting your actors to get great performances, what's in front of the camera, what's not in front of the camera. It's all the same thing. The only thing that changes is the budget for the project and the budget you're getting paid. When given an opportunity, deliver excellence and never quit. Robert Rodriguez. There's so many artists out there that are working so hard that if you don't work on delivering your best every single time, you're gonna unfortunately get left behind, because there are so many artists who are fighting to make it. And while I think it's one of the few things where every artist can be at the top, but what's so cool is that there are so many great artists out there. And so you owe it to yourself and you owe it to your art to make the best art possible. I get teary-eyed whenever I read this quote, because it pulls and it hits deep in my heart. We don't make movies to make money. We make money to make more movies. Walt Disney. I've never been money motivated. Started a few different companies, and all of them were like, oh, we can make a lot of money. I could be making millions of dollars. And whether it's a year into it, a couple months into it, a couple weeks into it, as short as 24 hours, I've kind of given up because they're not making movies. And my whole goal is just to make movies, and I know so many artists who would happily be a starving artist than, worry about and be able to make their art, than do something else that's not making their art. So, but there's part of it is, you got to make money to make movies. Movies cost money. And so being smart about how you can do both, that's part of why I've kept a camera in my hand my entire life, is just to practice the craft while getting as close to making movies as possible. Cinema is a matter of what's in the frame and what's out. Martin Scorsese. I'm going to give a story of the next guy who's the next quote author that I love, but it's Kurosawa's quote, where he asks about he's being interviewed and he's asked about the framing for this shot. It's like, wow, it's stunning. How did you figure that out? He's like, to the left, production truck. To the right, bathrooms or something like that. And it was like, it was simple as that, but it's really like what's in the frame and what's out of the frame is all that a film is in. So this next one is Akira Kurosawa. The characters in my films try to live honestly and make the most of their lives they've been given. I believe you must live honestly and develop your abilities to the full. People who do this are the real heroes. That's all films are, whether it's set in space, whether it's set in present day, or it's a period piece, whether it's monsters, aliens, humans, serial killers, you name it. They're real people living real lives. That's why we connect to the movies that we connect to, is because we're following something that's real. Even if it's made up, even if it's so outlandish, there's an aspect of humanity, which is why we connect to those stories. A story should have a beginning, middle, and end. but not necessarily in that order. Jean-Luc Godard. Simple enough said. You got to have a beginning, middle, and end, but if you can get creative in how you tell it and what aspect of the beginning, what aspect of the middle, what aspect of the end is what you tell, that's great storytelling. My idea of professionalism is probably a lot of people's idea of obsessive. David Fincher. This man is notoriously known for doing a tremendous amount of takes, anywhere from 20 to 120 takes. It's the level of detail that makes him so legendary. And it's something I've talked about in a previous video, which was people will only see the destination, but they won't see the journey. So they might judge your journey in terms of, wow, he's obsessive. Oh, he's so this, he's so that, or she's this, or she's so that. But what they're really going to end up caring about is the final product you made. And if you just keep an eye on, you know what you want to get and the art you want to make, that's what you're going to inevitably end up being judged on. If 1 million people see my movie, I hope they see 1 million different movies. Quentin Tarantino. There's a great story that I heard about that goes hand in hand with this from Tom Cruise when somebody asks, oh, what does this movie mean? Or a question about the meaning of any of the stories, is he always responds with, what does it mean to you? Because like a great piece of art, you should always bring in a piece of yourself when viewing that art, which will make that viewing experience different than anybody else on this planet. Casting is 65% of directing, John Frankenheimer. I think there was another quote that was by Clint Eastwood that said it was 95% of directing, which was just casting. And I found that to be so true in the few films that I've made. When you find the right person, your job as a director is much easier because they're bringing the right elements of that character to life without you having to try. And so much of directing is just finding that right cast to do it. But casting can go beyond just the actual cast themselves. Casting is the crew you put together. If you find the right DP, the right production designer, the right sound guy, the right composer, the right editor, the right writer, everybody on your cast and crew, your job is so much easier because they're the right people to help tell that story in that specific function in telling that story. Cinema should make you forget you are sitting in a theater. Roman Polanski. I love this quote because true art makes you forget about the world around you. When you're so involved in the story and you're so wrapped in the film itself that you forget you're in a movie theater, that you forget you're watching, you forget yourself, when you forget the time of day you're in. So you walk out and you're like, oh my God, it's the middle of the afternoon, or it's already 10 o'clock at night, or whatever it is, because you're so enraptured by the story. That should be the goal of every director, in my opinion. Truly creative things happen when one thinks differently, yet nobody wants to think differently. Shonda Rhimes. As an artist, our job is to create the future and to create realities that are not seen. And so you have to think differently. You have to look at the world in a new perspective and help try to bring that perspective into reality through your art. Whether it's a comedy, a drama, a tragedy, or an uplifting film, the whole goal of art is to shift people's view, in my opinion. And that could be through an actual overt narrative, or even just through, you could say, a popcorn blockbuster. Is to shift their narrative and is to shift their view into making them happier, into uplifting them. That's still shifting their view, and it doesn't have to be an overt, we need you to change your view and think like this from now on. Definitely pushing yourself as a filmmaker to go, what is the emotional impact I want to tell with this story? And finally, do what you do so well that they will want to see it again and bring their friends. Walt Disney. I love this because true pieces of art will sell themselves and will become that cult classic that no matter what critics think about it or whatever, it's that the audience knows what they like. They might not be able to tell you and explain what they like, but they know what they like when they see it. And the way that you know that they like it is that they want to see it again and they want to share it with their friends. So make cool things and share it with people, and you know when they like it is when they keep sharing it. So keep going out there and keep making cooler and cooler things.